All right, welcome to another awesome episode of Detections. Ow! I'm BSD Bandit. We also have Understudy and Exile. What's up, guys?
Yep. And you should just introduce all of them going forward.
Yeah.
Aw.
You have a very rare energy about you. Like I am pumped for this episode now, and I was tired a minute ago.
Well, wake up.
Well, hold on. That's me hitting my face.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Because
Tonight, what's tonight?
Tonight we got some good stuff. We got threat hunting thrillers.
We always have good stuff. But yes, in a little bit, we're going to talk about some threat hunting. And that's super exciting to me because it's a topic that I love too.
But I think you got something to tell us first, don't you?
Oh, I mean, we always have the casual chit chat and the news and all the other things that we have to do. I guess casual chit chat wise, other than me probably spending an inordinate amount of time playing Final Fantasy XIV, which is awesome, by the way, and I strongly recommend it. And if anybody of you do play it and want to play on Diabolos, hit me up. You can totally join with us and play.
I might actually have a healer for you.
Yeah, we've got a big group in Dead Pixel. Like, that's the problem, though. Like, you go, whoa, nobody wants to play healer, and we got like 5 of those now.
Look at that.
But we got a big group in Dead Pixel that's playing. But also cool, like personal news that I want to share is, so I got hit up recently, and I don't know if we talked about it. I don't know where it was in line, but I've definitely talked about teaching in like middle schools and high schools a couple times, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So apparently, one of those situations kind of just extended because the teacher put me up for this thing. So I'm going to be, for the Virginia Department of Education, I'm going to be a member of their professional review board for their cybersecurity fundamentals class. So like I'm going to be helping to shape the cybersecurity fundamentals class for high school students, I think, for the entire state of Virginia in a couple of weeks, which is really fucking cool and exciting.
Fantastic.
What? That is awesome.
Yeah, dude, it's super exciting. Like I'm super duper excited to do this. Because I love to teach, and like I don't know that I will ever have the ability to affect as many people as I will get from like this one like 4-hour session in my lifetime again, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Exactly. Man, we got to give a detections clap for Understudy for that one. I'm sorry. We got to do that early. Yes.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited. But other than that, like, work is work, home is home. They all blend together, and it's the same thing. I don't know what day, month, or year it is anymore. So,
I don't think any of us do.
What about all of you? How's it going? How was last week? Because you're going to give me shit at some point. I might as well get it out of the way. I have not listened yet before you all give me shit about it.
Boo.
No, I'm not going to do it because I know there's going to be a point in the future where I'm not on an episode, and I probably won't listen to it either.
Yeah,
I need to because Ali's awesome, and like I know you guys did a fucking fantastic job. So that's also why I haven't listened, because I have just look at it that way. I have no concern about your ability to do this without me here. Yeah. I bet it's better than when I'm here.
Well, I mean, if you do need to skip on last week's episode, skip to the end when Ali drops some seriously good words of wisdom.
And talks a bunch of shit about me, apparently.
And talks a bunch of shit about you, absolutely.
Fair enough. Anything new, notable, interesting, fun from everybody?
Well, I can. Far as like new, what do you mean new?
I don't know, just new, fun, interesting. What do you want to share with the literally ones of people who listen to this every week?
There are dozens of us. Dozens.
Exactly. Well, this week's adventures, we can hop right into it. So, this week's adventure, did you guys hear about the group policy editor bug that was found in Windows 2016?
To the news. Yes. I'm for it. I didn't actually until you mentioned something, and I read a bit, but like fill me in, like teach me more.
All right. Well, of course, as usual, Microsoft, and sorry for all the Windows and Microsoft fans out there. I love you all, but you got some problems.
I'm not one of them.
All right. But there are some listeners who are huge Microsoft fans, so we all got problems. But
we'll convert
your
you
problem-
soon.
So we have 99 problems, and Windows is one of them.
I thought Windows was
Big time.
always one of them.
Since the beginning of time. Yeah. Uh-oh.
That's what I'm
Let me
saying.
behave myself. The Apple.
But anyway, what do we
cheering.
got?
But yeah, so apparently there's a bug in the actual like group policy editor. So when a lot of especially this is in Windows 2016. I'm not sure about 2019, but this was discovered in 2016. But since they have the kind of the same kernel and not a lot has really changed, you might want to check 2019 as well too. I haven't personally yet, but they were experiencing some errors opening up like the security options in the group policy editor. But the crazy part is that Microsoft confirmed that the bug was introduced into a cumulative update that they found pretty much they were working on a fix. But apparently, as a malicious actor, you can actually inject some malware into that particular finding, into that particular bug. So in general, users can actually pretty much, I wouldn't even say malware, I call it malware, but you can actually bypass this bug and install pretty much like RAT, which is remote administration tools that can be used on Windows 10, which is pretty much a bad thing. And then, of course, with RAT, in a way, you could maybe install some malware, or you can do some other really fun, cool things as a attacker.
So hold on, because I might be reading something different. Because this is saying that the way you bypass the bug, this basically will lock you completely out of editing group policy. And you bypass it by using remote administrative tools.
Yes.
That way you can actually go edit shit.
Yes. And do other stuff too.
Oh, God,
yeah. So that's why I threw the malware in there. I got malware on my mind and malware on my mind. Yes. So you can do all kinds of fun, cool stuff with the RAT.
I mean, that's a huge issue solely because if you have this problem, it will literally lock you out of group policy.
Yeah.
Like accessing security options data view in group policy, like management or local, will fail and you just can't do shit.
No.
Like you can't make group policy changes. That's kind of a big fucking deal.
Yeah. But and the cool part, and I'm not saying that I've done this or I would do this, but how about just if I had access and I'm using RAT, I wouldn't lock you out. I would just make you a regular user and I just wouldn't give you access to anything. You could see something, but you couldn't touch. It's like being a kid in the candy store, but you can see all you want, but you can't touch beyond the glass.
I must say that all this is very Microsoft of them.
And I'm looking like...
And the Apple fans are cheering. They're like, yes, talk your talk, understudy.
Look, man, what can I say? I like BSD, apparently.
Ooh.
Man, looking at these steps on how to trigger this bug, that's like
yes.
normal administrative things to do, especially for junior admins who are still learning how to use it and use the UI. Like, holy
crap.
Velociraptor crap. Like...
Oh, that's good. Holy rat.
Yes, holy rat.
That's going to be on a shirt someday. Holy rat.
Yep. Ripping Microsoft with the rat.
That's going to be on a shirt someday.
This is crazy. Man, and like...
Yes, the RRM.
And trying to like think of like, well, how do you find if this happen? It doesn't matter. Like, once it's happened to one person, you're shit out of luck.
Yeah, you're locked out. You're done.
So tonight, instead of saying MMC, we're going to call this the RRM. Rat Ripping Microsoft.
All right. Exiled, are you up?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to go?
I'm actually going to back it up a little bit to answer your original question about things that are going on. And I just want to take a moment to put out something that we say consistently, but I know like across the nation, like this past week has been pretty emotional for a lot of people. And I just want to encourage everyone again, like if you're feeling the weight of what's going on or anything like that, reach out to someone. Like, I know being stuck at home can be troublesome, but find a way to reach out, because the stuff going on isn't a thing for an individual to carry on their own.
You know what it sounds like you need, man?
Hmm.
One of Trump's patriotic re-education camps.
Oh man.
Patriot.
Sorry, that might be a little bit of a low blow, but I read about the patriotic re-education program, and I just fucking died.
Yeah.
Like, that's like the like antithesis of every book about government censorship and control in one.
Yeah, and what did I just see? Like, I just saw like something too where he was like trying to take money away from.
Oh yeah, he's going to declare like DC and Portland and New York City and another city as anarchist cities or something, and kill all federal funding.
Yeah, no. I forget. Oh, I forget where it was, but like he was like advocating to move funding from like Medicare or something like that. I can't remember what it was, and then use that to fund the Patriot education. So it was like pulling it from a social service to pay for the Patriot education.
Before you know it, we're all going to be dragged off to re-education camps.
My camp might be something else.
But yes. Jokes aside, and seriously, like at this point, like humor is my medicine.
Yep.
So like I crack a lot of crass jokes because humor is my medicine in a timeline. In this, the darkest timeline. I'm just waiting for Evil Abed to show up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I do have the picture if anyone needs the cutout for the goatee for the darkest timeline.
Right?
Yeah.
But like seriously, just take care of yourselves. I took a couple days off work just to decompress and relax, and you know, I was really glad to have even detections off last week just to decompress and relax and focus. I mean, this isn't really known at all in InfoSec, but I guess since we're talking about it, like I've battled with depression my entire life. So like it's really important to take care of yourself, and it's really important to know your own limits and know when you're about to take a step too far and know when to pull back. And it's such an interesting topic, and like don't let anybody give you that macho bullshit of like man up. Like depression is like knowing exactly what you need to do to get better, but not being able to bring yourself to do it. Right. And like it's a shitty place to be. And get help, like preferably from a trained professional if you can, because they actually know how to handle this shit, not us. We are always open to listen. The people in DPS are always open to listen. Like, but definitely take care of yourself.
Yes.
But anyway, should we go back to the news?
Yes. I just I just wanted to have that said. So, on a similar note, we're going to continue the Microsoft bashing. What is it? CVE 2020 1472. Did I remember that?
And let
You
the
did?
bashing begin.
Yeah. So I know that's a big one that people have been talking about, but I came across this article from Splunk about how to detect this CVE.
Hold on. Does it say by Splunk?
It doesn't say that, but it is using Splunk. So
Of course it is by Splunk.
So they do a cool thing with it though, that they don't just talk about it. Like here's what it is, but they talk about how Secura actually did a proof of concept code on how this exploit would actually work. But then they also talk about how that because of stuff like this, there is a need for internal blue team detection operations, like whatever it's called, to have a way to take this exploit code and have some sort of lab or environment to be able to launch this code and find ways to detect it and respond to it. So then they put together this huge article about doing that, and of course they pitch their own attack range. But they give 4 specific methodologies for doing it, using detecting the zero logon using Zeek, detecting the Mimikatz using loaded images, detecting the credential dump through the LSAS attack, and detecting the computer change with the anonymous account stuff. And they give that, and they actually talk about using the local attack range to be able to do this yourself. with some pretty good instructions on how to get that set up to do it. And Charles, they do use Impacket for it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And the plot thickens. Dun, 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 dun.
But yeah, definitely check it out because there is some excellent information in this, and it will help people at any tier, in any grade in their current role, and learning something for sure.
Oh, it's a super cool article.
Yeah.
And just know, like, you could do this stuff without Splunk. Splunk is
Yes.
awesome. Don't get me wrong. I love Splunk. I just played in Boss of the Sock not that long ago, like last week, I think. I played Boss of the Sock, and Splunk is great. But Splunk is also expensive.
It is.
So, like, you can do this. And what's nice about this article, I think, is, they're using Splunk, but, they're also talking about the machines behind it and what they're feeding into it. So, like, you could do this with any open source tool. You could do it with a Graylog or any of that stuff as well if you want to play with it at home.
Yeah, and the search query language is pretty well documented. So if you use something like ElkStacks or using Lucene or anything else, that you can make the transition of the Splunk searches that they use in the article to whatever tool you have access to.
It's interesting that, like, Microsoft just did their whole, like, information sharing thing recently that has its own complete language to how they're sharing information. And then you have Sigma, and then you have Splunk language. Then, like, at some point as an industry, we need to standardize on a fucking language.
Hey.
Like, we really do.
Yeah. Well, at least Sigma has the benefit of being written in JSON, so that it's not that hard to convert out of it into something else.
But Microsoft's got their own thing now, and they're like, we're not going to use that. We're going to make our own because we're Microsoft.
Now, you say you want the industry as a whole to standardize on a language, but we can't even standardize on certain versions of operating system. Linux,
Dude, we can't even standardize on terminology,
I threw it
let
out
alone
there. Linux.
operating systems.
Linux, I threw it out there. Sorry, Linux.
Jesus.
Folks.
Dude, you ask 15 people what phishing means or what BEC means, and you'll get 15 different answers. Maybe you'll only get 13, but
Hey,
we can't standardize on damn terminology.
Or even the term downloading, right? We'll go to a really basic term, downloading. Enterprise IT usually means you're getting something from a remote web server. In the OT space, that means you're transferring a firmware update from a laptop over a physical connection to a device.
I mean, probably the most highly contested term in the entire cybersecurity industry is incident. And that's what I'm not even going to dig into right now.
That's a whole episode in and of itself.
That's a whole
we can
2
spend a whole
episodes.
oh god just trying to define incident. Hell yeah.
Yeah, define incident part 1. Well, we're back this week. Defining
Dun,
incident
dun.
part 2. Dun dun
Dun, dun.
Yep.
So, are we ready to move on?
Yes.
Cool.
Yep.
So I'm going to completely flip the script, and I you can ask either of these guys. I was back and forth. Like, do I want to bash Android or do I want to bash, get political? How do I want to go with this? I really didn't know. So ultimately, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about TikTok, which we've talked about before. And I think it's a really, really interesting concept in what's happening with TikTok right now, everything that's working. So for those who don't know, Trump basically said TikTok Chinese, TikTok bad. Bunch of security researchers were like, oh my God, TikTok's bad. By the way, when you're a researcher, you can have real impact that might not necessarily be a good thing. So Trump basically said, we're banning TikTok in the US. We're going to cover that in a minute and how dangerous of a fucking precedent that is. But before we get to that, let's finish the story. Unless somebody in the US buys it. So Oracle and Walmart bought TikTok. So let's talk about this. And this is
cue the vomit sound, please.
Right?
At this point,
so I'm pulling from a TechCrunch article about this that I just thought was a really, really good look. It basically says the TikTok deal solves quite literally nothing and is entirely pointless, and that's hilarious for a couple of reasons. First off, Oracle's going to have 60% or something like that. I don't know. Walmart's taking 20% stake and will an investment round before TikTok Global. So first off, TikTok is still owned by the same damn company. Ownership did not change. China still owns TikTok. They're just promising to host US data on Oracle Cloud. Then, Oracle becomes their trusted technology partner. will be responsible for hosting all of that and ensure U.S. national security requirements are fully satisfied. And then they're working with Walmart on a commercial partnership. So we were afraid that China was going to steal our funny videos and weaponize them in some way. And now Walmart's absolutely going to steal our funny videos and weaponize them for ads and shit on the fourth biggest web hosting provider for whatever goddamn reason exists. So Oracle gets 12.5%, Walmart gets 7.5%, ByteDance keeps 80%. And then Trump signed off on this, by the way. I approve of this deal. Well, of course he approves of this deal. The Oracle CEO is one of his main campaign contributors. Mm-hmm. So, like, this smells like shit. Quite literally, this does not smell good in general. And it literally benefits everybody but U.S. consumers and people who actually have security concerns.
And I want to back up what you said. You used Oracle and trusted in the same sentence.
Correct.
As a former, I just had an anxiety as a former Solaris engineer. The words flashed back to me. Oh no, nothing's gonna change. It's just a little title change. Nothing's gonna happen with Solaris. 2020. Flash forward.
Yeah.
Anybody know what Solaris is? Solaris, are you there?
I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for all TikTok to now require Flash. And Flash is alive again.
So I'm glad you chose TikTok, because what I was saying earlier about Trump pulling funding from something else to pay for Patriot Youth, it was the TikTok deal. He wants $5 billion to come from that private sale to come to the federal government and then use that money to fund his Patriot Youth program.
Okay. That I didn't know.
Yeah.
But so then it kind of ends with this concept of, and I just want to say like the last sentence because it's fucking hilarious. Thank God the U.S. saved TikTok from the crony capitalism of China. Let's hope that they enjoy the crony capitalism of Washington, D.C.
Boom.
But more importantly, and this is the big part, like this whole thing is just fucking weird. But more importantly, I want to talk about the precedent that this sets. The president of the United States just demanded that a global like online company can no longer exist and will be like illegal to be installed on phones by consumers unless it's bought by another company. That is an incredibly fucking dangerous precedent.
Absolutely.
Like, it's horrifying where that could go. It scares the shit out of me. And like, I don't even want to get into all the possible ways that this can go, but politics having influence like that is just horrifying. I mean, I'm going to like weigh in, please.
At the basis of that does not continue to enforce free market and a mixed market economy that we so proudly talk about as being in this country.
I don't know, for some reason, as you're talking about that and I'm looking at a picture of Trump, I just think of Terry Colby from E Corp that just did something crazy. All you Mr. Robot fans out there, I got the Terry Colby going on right now, and it's scaring me.
Yeah.
Literally.
It's dangerous to get involved, like, for politics to meddle with private companies. And, like, to a certain extent, right? Like, regulations are fine, but, like, this isn't regulation.
Yeah.
This is like, we're going to ban your fucking product.
Yeah. This isn't an antitrust. This isn't controlling monopolies.
Yeah.
This isn't like a life or death safety thing where they have to set a floor and a ceiling in the economic model to ensure that it doesn't get abused and the general citizenry has access to it like they do with utilities.
We're going to ban your
like
product because someone has security concerns or it could be used badly. And honestly, like, if we're completely honest, what real national security information are they going to get on fucking TikTok? It's 12-year-olds dancing in funny ways in video game footage.
Well, right now, there's actually a lot of TikTok that's making fun of the Trump administration. And
that's very true. You can be sure that'll be banned going forward in Oracle's new world.
The Dancing Unicorns presents.
But anyway.
Detonating the digital bomb.
We try not to get like overwhelmingly political on one side or another. And like, I will tell everybody here, like, I am not a Democrat, nor am I a Republican, to be honest. But like, this is ridiculous and it's horrifying, which is why we want to talk about it, because this has potentially real serious implications for most of our lives and careers going forward. And it's worth at least mentioning it for that reason. But I'm out of time. So let's move on to our topic, BSD. Kick us off, buddy.
Well, it is now time for thrilling threat hunting. So threat hunting thrillers. Go ahead. What'd you say?
We should probably start with a definition of threat hunting. And this is going to be fun because you're going to give one, then I'm going to go, no, that's not right. And then Exile's going to go, no, you're wrong too.
Because
to go back to
nobody knows the
definitions.
true definition.
That's what I'm. So there isn't one.
No, that isn't. Well, what I presume threat hunting is an individual that goes forth through a network to find the badness. Click.
I always call it looking for a needle in a stack of needles, but that works too.
What do you think it is, Exile?
My turn? Okay. So I've actually been working on doing this as a presentation, also as a potential pitch. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But the basis of it is it's actually focusing on those. If you have like known knowns, unknown knowns, like the false positives, true positives, false negatives, and true negatives, the main focus is looking at those false negatives for something that doesn't currently exist. So you're going out and hunting like a hunter in the forest, looking for that elusive thing that's out there somewhere. Where like some people have talked to me, have considered threat hunting also digging through alerts from your tools and things like that already exist. That isn't necessarily set up as a correlation alert with a SIM tool or something like that, threat hunting. And I'm like, I call that gathering. Because it's stuff that's already there, but it isn't correlated, and you're just digging through that. So literally, it is a hunt and gather scenario at that point.
Just know we are coining the term threat gathering right now.
Exactly.
Right.
That is ours. And we're going to eventually make a shirt that says, I'm a threat gatherer.
Yes.
But does that make sense? Like,
no, it totally does. And it's for me, it's always been, I'm looking for the unknown.
Yeah.
Right? What don't I know? What might exist? All right, let's go look for that.
Yes.
But I mean, BSD, like, take us through it. Like, take us through the process. Like, what does it look like?
All right. Well, dun. Put it on my hat again. Only blue bricks tonight, though. So, as a threat hunter, first you're sitting down with the client. Okay, you're sitting down with the client. You're having an awesome conversation. It could be tea, crumpets, whatever. You know.
We should specify that this is specifically consulting as a threat hunter. And we'll talk about internal threat hunting later, too.
Yes. Client Chronicles continues. So, you're talking with the customer, the client, and they're stating to you that, hey, we have some we have some legitimate concerns, but we're also trying to pass an audit as well. And we would like for you to come in and actually we already done our vulnerability scans and everything else, but we want you to come in and perform a specific threat hunt because we feel like we've been breached, but we don't know what we don't know. So that's why we want to bring you aboard to help us find the unknown. Dun-dun. So once you've had that conversation and all parties agree and you're going through the whole the fun part of like timelines and how many endpoints and what you're, what's actually out there, how the network looks in general as a whole, then you go into the mode of finding the badness. And as you're finding badness, again, sometimes you're at like a point in time. So this is kind of a double-edged sword when dealing with threat hunting, because a lot of times when you're finding things, it's at a point in time. But then, hey, you might be lucky enough that you might find some badness that is currently happening within the network and was just never addressed. And I have found situations where there's been a command and control running within the network in real time, by the way, in real time, and only to find out that staff, I'm being careful with words because I never want to give up my client info, but I've seen staff to where they've been using it and they're saying, "Oh, well, we're just testing something out." Good catch though. Good catch. We know what's going on there. You know, and same thing with
It's like when people get caught with torrent files and torrent programs on their computer. Oh, I was just testing something out.
yeah. So you will hear the answer of tonight. Oh, I was just testing something out. But good find though. Keep going. We still need to know more. But that's usually you get that kind of answer from, and this is Client Chronicles tonight. So you get that kind of answers from admins or folks that were on the network that have been semi called out for doing something that they wasn't supposed to be running in the first place. But that's the beautiful part about threat hunting. You get to peel back the onions just a little bit and you see what's really under the covers.
Oh, you get that kind of answer on an internal perspective too. It's
Oh,
actually not particularly different from an internal perspective either, right? And I've done both. So
okay.
I used to do basically threat hunting consulting and IR as for a living.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved internal and like, you know, it's not particularly different. Like genuinely, it's not an audit thing or a feeling thing. When you have a program, you kind of form a hypothesis. So you go, I'm hypothesizing that this might have happened on my network. So now I need to go find it. And you got to do the same thing that you do in most cases. Figure out where logs might exist, figure out what to look for, potentially test an attack and see what that looks like so that you can go know what to look for there. Test your own tools, test all different kinds of stuff, and then actually just go look through raw data for it. And like, there's two things that I genuinely want to tell people about threat hunting, especially people who are interested in it. One, it is not an entry level activity. It's not even a little bit an entry level activity. I would genuinely suggest that anybody who's interested in threat hunting, IR, shit like that, start in like a SOC. Because until you've built a baseline of what corporate networks look like and enterprise networks look like, it's really hard without ever having like looked at an alert to like go look for the thing that the alert doesn't generate for. Like
Yeah, that or some like junior to mid tier network admin background.
Oh, yes.
Just so that you get that same sort of like understanding of what a network is supposed to look like, or even like a system admin background, so
yeah.
you can understand what services are supposed to look like, what is normal load for various applications and operating systems working normally.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's not at all entry level. And secondly,
Right.
depending on what type of person you are, and as sexy as this sounds, and you know, it's very sexy to me, because Blue Team is very sexy. Threat hunting can be boring as fuck because it's a lot of trolling through data, and you have to like doing that, right? Like you have to like, oh, I'm gonna go look at 100,000 lines of PowerShell right now to see if anything looks weird. That can be really boring if you don't like that stuff. And
That's
it's
true.
good to know that going in, just how boring it can be.
And then honestly, if you like back up to look at the methodology, the process of threat hunting, it is very similar to the scientific methodology that you use to conduct experiments in chemistry or biology or physics or whatever that is.
I've
So
submitted
even people
conference
with a-
talks about that.
Exactly. So even if you had like a science background, you could understand the methodology that it would take to get in place, and then you could supplement it with just a little bit of IT and be off and going.
It's all about forming a hypothesis, testing your hypothesis, so on and so forth.
And that hypothesis can come from, I'm just going to say this really quick. That hypothesis can come from even open source material, like reading an intelligence report from Mandiant or FireEye.
Oh, God, yeah.
Or some like new attack. Like, so it doesn't have to be some like expert level knowledge that you're trying to come up with a new edge case scenario. It could just be a new thing or a thing you are not familiar with beforehand, that it then becomes, if this attack existed in my network, how would I go about finding it?
Right. And also too, and we can get even simpler as well too. It's no different than if you want to sit and solve a crossword puzzle.
Yeah, as long as you're familiar with the words that make up a computer.
Right. Exactly. So if you're familiar with the terminologies, you're sitting there, you're figuring out the crossword puzzle. Okay, this letter goes here. It's pretty much making sense out of chaos. I'm not going to say order, make order out of chaos if you're a developer, but making sense out of the chaos if you're a threat hunter.
Oh, yeah. So the advice I give to most people who want to do threat hunting is, especially because most threat hunting takes place in like a Windows environment. Pick up Windows System Internals 1 and 2. Like, that's where you're going to be good, because it's all about finding the uncommon And in order to find the uncommon, you have to have some idea what the common looks like. Which means if you want to find weird shit in Windows processes, core processes, which most shit these days is living off the land, detecting living off the land is really hard. So you run into threat hunting to actually look for that shit. If you want to detect it, you actually need to understand like what SVC host is supposed to do, or what WinLogon does, and like what these things are supposed to be able to talk to, and all that different stuff. Like that will help you be able to go, oh, why is like this application kicking off SVC host? That's not normal.
Or even stuff like when they register as a service to maintain persistence, some of them can even take on names that sound legit, like Microsoft Web Networking Services.
Calc.exe.
Yeah, calc.exe. Yeah, like it could just be these seemingly normal names that if you don't understand what the normal services look like, will just blend in with everything else.
Yeah, and Sans has an incredible poster called the Find Evil poster that we're going to link in the description.
And it's free, so you don't have to pay a Sans course for it.
Oh, yeah, God, yeah. It's free, and it actually goes through, it literally, their slogan is Find Evil, No Normal. And it goes through like what system does and SMSS.exe and when in it and CSRSS and all that different stuff. Like it goes through these processes, tells you what they do, what their typical parent processes are. And you can use that. Like a lot of my hunting was doing parent process child investigation, because you can get so much out of parent child process investigation.
Yes, you can. And also too, to add on to what you were saying about learning Windows internals, also learn Linux internals as well too, because I mean Linux is actually out there, and there's a lot of, as time goes on, there's going to be a lot of more IoT, which I call the stuffed bell pepper, which is going to be running some type of Linux kernel. A good thing to look at is learning a good book resource for that is the Linux programming interface.
That's a good book. But yes, agreed. And we're coming more and more into all that stuff, right? So I want to take a minute and I want to talk about another side of threat hunting, the side of threat hunting that like nobody ever talks about. And that's like what happens after a threat hunt. Because everybody goes like, this is how you threat hunt. This is how you look at stuff. This is how you can do it. But nobody ever talks about what happens after. And like, there's a problem with that, because threat hunting solves a very specific problem at a very specific point in time. But it also generates a very specific problem in the fact that it is only really happening at a very specific point in time. So if you use hypothesis-based hunting and really, really dig into like hypothesis-based hunting, you're going to form a hypothesis, test it, look for it, rinse and repeat. So it might be 24 or 36 months before you go, oh, I should reevaluate that hypothesis, which means you don't have any visibility on that thing that you're looking for 24 to 36 months. Which is a big fucking problem. And one of the biggest issues that can come out of kind of a hunting engagement is that you go, hey, we're good. We didn't find anything, which is a good thing in hunting and happens a lot. But, hey, we're good. We didn't find anything. Okay, we're done. No, you're not. What searches did you have? What did they look like? What persistent and long-term detections can come out of that? Yep. What remediation actions need to happen? These are all things that are so fucking important to consider when you're talking about the end of a threat hunting engagement, because you don't just want that snapshot in time. You want to turn that snapshot in time into a persistent defensive mechanism.
And honestly, you could apply like the NIST or the SANS incident response lifecycle to threat hunting itself.
Yes.
Which always ends with the lessons learned and the action items that come from it. Because then that also helps to prove, the value to the business that this activity is conducting, from a business standpoint that traditionally sees it as a cost center.
And
correct.
Also too, for the love of God, please take advantage of the MIDOR attack framework when you're dealing with threat hunting. I mean,
there's about 3 million talks on the subject, so they're pretty plenty.
Yes, and they were not written for someone's health. They were written to actually help folks. So please take advantage of that. I do notice that during my client chronicles.
It's actually a really good way to form a hypothesis. Pick a fucking MITRE category. There's your hypothesis.
Yeah.
Boom. Done. That's like threat hunting 101 easy.
Pow.
You can pull from the news and stuff, but hey, we don't have any detections for this MITRE category. Maybe we should look for that. That's our hypothesis.
And there are cool tools out there like Detect itself on GitHub that you can just build an XML file and it'll generate a nice, pretty heat map for you to display for management and stuff like that.
MITRE actually has their own called the MITRE Attack Navigator, which is fully programmable, and you can basically make heat maps of stuff. Yeah,
so Detect is basically you use Navigator for it.
Okay.
But you can do some back-end stuff and automate it so that it displays in Navigator, but it's kind of a customization.
Cool. Yeah, dude. I want to look at that myself, actually.
So I think that's a good transition, though, to our new segment that we're still feeling out since BSD Bandit joined us. And I don't know, I'm thinking something like we can call it Attack and Detect.
Or the Diaper Dandy Presents.
Diaper Dandy Presents.
I don't know. We'll come up with a segment name eventually, and we'll just try new ones till we have
it. Hunters and Thinkers.
Wait, all season 3, just maybe a different segment intro for this piece until we figure out the one that it is.
So what do you got for us, BSD? Take it away.
Well, again, this has been awesome. I enjoy hanging out and talking with everyone weekly.
The show's not over yet. You got to talk about attackers first. I think he lost track of time. It's COVID, man. It does that.
Did.
This is what COVID does. You see, COVID fries the brain.
It's fried to a point that he doesn't even know what minute it is anymore.
Right. This is your brain on COVID. Okay. So, the attack segment. So, we're going to keep it super simple tonight. What I've found, and again, this is all part of Client Chronicles. During my adventures as a threat hunter, I've found something that was near and dear to all of our hearts, which is default passwords within an environment. And I'm talking about the super simple default passwords. Discovered that there were many, not only outdated machines, but some of the machines whose passwords were never changed and had a setting to where it never had to change. So tonight's chronicles are default passwords. And
how might you go about like utilizing default passwords from an attacker perspective? Like how might you find out that they're in use or use them and that kind of stuff?
We use a technique called password spraying. So whenever we get like a specific cred, so what we do is we'll use a technique called password spraying. Shout out to Crack Mac Exep. I'm talking already. But again, we'll take that password, and I'm just going to use something out there called Spring 2019, bang, as an example. And this is publicly known information. I'm not giving out anyone's password, but this is publicly known. So you can go on the internet and search it for that specific password. But I would spray with 2019 bang, Spring 2019 bang, with each user account that's in the environment and see what I get back. And I guarantee you 99% of the time we get default passwords that are set on users with pretty high privileges, by the way. I've gotten DA based off a default password, which is very scary. And this is all in the Windows world, by the way. I love you, Apple. I love you, Linux, and I definitely love BSD. So, again,
which is basically Apple.
No, Apple's BSD. You got it.
Well, yeah, fair. It's really funny, dude. It's really funny that you bring this one up.
Yes,
because way back. So like we're repeating a little bit, but we'll try to add some new stuff.
Yeah.
Way back when we had Blind on, like our first ever guest. He said the thing that always worked for him every single time was password spraying. Mm-hmm. And we actually talked a lot about password spraying that episode. So like, it's a good one to bring back up and bring back around because it's so prevalent and it's still so prevalent. Yeah. So like Exile, do you want to drop some thoughts?
Well, I'm trying to remember what specifically we talked about at the time.
I remember. So detection wise, we actually talked about like, single source multi-password attempts. We talked about multi-source, single source attempts. We talked about specifically like detecting from
Yep.
like AWS and other web
Yeah, I was
services
going to say,
and
yeah, the
stuff.
cloud service.
And then you injected that little Black Hills tool, and I was like, I got a fix for that too. The one that changes like stuff every time.
Yeah.
So like we talked about all that kind of stuff quite a bit.
But it's a simple fix. But again, these are same issues that we keep running into. It's a matter of just setting strong passwords.
Yeah, but we often don't have control over that part. I mean, I agree, but so I'm gonna throw out a new one
Okay.
because I got a new one.
And I just thought of something too. So
Cool. So we got some new ones. So this one actually doesn't find password spraying, but it's an interesting way to find failed logins, which in turn is an interesting way to then look for password spraying. And that's the concept of like location and normalcy based anomaly detection that you can get into. So you can say like, maybe I want to see the first time a user logs in from a specific IP space or location. Maybe I want to see if they log in from like a different location from what they usually log into on any general trend. So like you can actually look for suspicious logins like that, and you bump your fidelity way through the fucking roof when you look for location data mixed with multiple failed logins. So that's mine. What do you got, Exile?
I was thinking about this. That would be different from what we talked about before. And then what came to mind was specific URI targeting. So looking to detect very specific URIs, normalizing the user agents and looking at the ones that generate a high volume of the exact same user agent, targeting a specific URI, specifically if there is an API call that they can use versus like saying going through the web front end itself.
All right.
There is going to be, of course, like everything, normalization, creating a baseline, seeing what's normal so you can do the anomaly detection, but making it very specific to API calls to a specific URI with high noisy HTTP user agents.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about being very specific in the detection realm when possible, right? Especially if you get to a point of maturity where you can, or if you have a really small team, you kind of have to be specific.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're just going to burn the fuck out of your people. So,
Yeah, and you never want to do that. That's for
Exile, BSD, closing thoughts before I take us out.
Go BSD.
Well, again, now.
Yeah, now's the right time to say
Yes,
the thing. Say that
That's
stuff.
what I say. I enjoy, and this is not a replay, everyone. I enjoy hanging out with these fellas every week, hanging out with you all every week, and talking some good old fashioned fun stories.
It's the summer of retro. I feel like we should have had a tape rewind noise right there.
Or
Yeah,
or
we
the
should've.
vinyl scratch.
It's actually
Wicca, wicca.
futuristic. We're gonna have futuristic fall now.
Oh,
So
okay.
tonight's episode,
Dude, now I'm getting hyped. Futuristic fall. We're gonna go
futuristic
cyberpunk.
fall. I'm gonna put it out there. So futuristic fall will consist of the current games, current everything, current shows. Oh, I got a lineup of stuff that I'm
And
gonna be wearing.
Are we also going to have the Tesla Brain Fitbit?
Let's do it.
So
Let's do it.
let me know
Futuristic.
when you hit Cyberpunk 2077. I may have to make a guest voice appearance on your video at that point.
Oh,
I'm gonna be playing that game.
Always welcome.
I'm totally going to be playing that game. Exile,
Yes.
any last thoughts?
I do. I first off, I want everyone to remember that today we trademarked threat gathering on detections.
We did.
And
Boom. Yes.
And Threat Gatherer subsequently.
And yes, threat gatherer, any iteration thereof, or I've got the documents open right now to actually make it official. And that's awesome what you're doing with the school stuff and having an impact on the future. You know, the people that are going to be managers and the technicians in the role through the school there, understudy.
Futuristic fall. Yep.
Futures, yep.
Yes.
And I just want to encourage everyone that in these, in our current situation, to pull from Avatar: The Last Airbender, sometimes the thing that we need to help ourselves is to help someone else. So keep that in mind as you go about your day.
Yeah. Find your tribe. Really, like, think about it. If you're alone and you're feeling alone, come hang out with us in Dead Pixel Sec. It's a great place full of great people. And like right now, I think it's even more important to feel connected. Hence why I've been spending a bunch of time in MMOs and doing that kind of stuff. Like it's important to feel connected right now when a lot of people don't. Mm-hmm. So like, seriously, come hang out with us in Dead Pixel. And never forget to go forth and find badness.